I landed on your property. How much money do I owe you? What kind of game of Monopoly is this? It's Monopoly Cheaters Edition. Now pay up. Monopoly Cheaters Edition is a re-implemented version of the classic Monopoly board game, except in this version, cheating is allowed. In fact, it's encouraged. The aim of this version of Monopoly is for players to try and compete to earn the most cash possible by the end of the game. They do so by purchasing coloured property sets, collecting rent, and also completing a range of cheat objectives secretly in order to gain an advantage over the other players in the game. However, the other players are on the lookout, and if players get caught cheating, they'll have to suffer a severe penalty. The player who can be the most devious, deceptive, and can monopolize the other players and force them into bankruptcy first will win the game. So what exactly is different about Monopoly Cheaters Edition compared to the classic Monopoly board game? In this edition, there is no allocated banker. That means instead, the bank will be placed in front of each player at the beginning of their turn. The game board has now been overhauled to facilitate a faster and more devilish style of gameplay. Utilities and tax spaces have now been removed from the board. The stations are now painted in new fluorescent psychedelic colors and are not for sale, and instead advance players to the next station around the board. Some of the property values have also changed. Pentonville now gives you a free hotel if you build there. Whitehall is worth $20 Monopoly dollars. Leicester Square costs $130 Monopoly dollars. And whoever lands on Bond Street gets it for free. Free parking has also now changed, with players now being able to draw a chance or community chest card when they land on it. There are also no houses in the game, but players can upgrade their property straight to a hotel by paying the cost listed on their title deed card. Now, when a player is sent to jail, they must wear this set of handcuffs to keep them under close watch. Chance and community chest cards now provide players with a secret action or an advantage which players can enact when the time is right. Players can only have one chance card and one community chest card in their possession at any time, and when they wish to use it and trigger its effect, they need to announce it to the other players. Drawing a chance card now credits you with some really cool actions. The Stuck in Reverse card allows you to move any token backwards according to the number rolled. The Real Estate Mogul Invest in Your Property card allows you to add a hotel for free. The Luxury Parking card forces a player to pay $200 Monopoly dollars the next time they land on free parking. The Frame Another Player card allows you to cancel a penalty if you get caught cheating. You could also cancel the effect of another player's chance or community chest card. You could even pose as a celebrity and force a player to pay you rent instead of paying them. Tenants Trash Your Property card cuts the property's rental income in half, forcing the owner of that property to pay $200 Monopoly dollars to repair it. Drawing a community chest card can now allow you to collect $100 for bribing those beauty contest judges. You could ask the bank for a lifeline and gain your starting cash when you go completely bankrupt. You could even use this card as a roadblock to force a player to stop on your property to pay you rent. You could even be mean and take one property from any player and return it to the bank. Or simply, you could send the player you dislike the most to jail for no reason at all. Monopoly Cheaters Edition now features 15 cheat cards that shape and influence the way players cheat in the game. They kind of act like public objectives or goals. It's a risk versus reward situation where the players decide to sneakily take $300 Monopoly dollars when they pass go, or whether to swap properties with the neighbouring player without them noticing. Get away with cheating and players will be ultimately rewarded. I'll be taking this now, and I'm off. Each cheat card has its own reward and penalty. In Free Stay, players try to avoid paying rent. The reward for this is they get to take the property title deed card off the other player. If they get caught, they need to pay double the rent and go to jail. In Bank Heist, players attempt to steal money from the bank. If they succeed, players gain $100 Monopoly dollars from each player. In Property Swap, players try to secretly swap a title deed card with another player or with the bank. In Extra Allowance, players try to collect $300 when they pass go. In Identity Theft, a player tries to move another player's token instead of their own on their turn. If they get caught, that player's token can be placed anywhere on the board by the player who caught them. In Price Gouging, players secretly charge a player more rent than they actually owe. With Slippery Deed, players try to steal a title deed card from another player or from the bank. In Shortchanged,
players try to give less change to a player that is owed. With counterfeit chance, instead of doing what's on the chance card, players try and do whatever they want. With trick dice, players on their turn can try and move as many spaces as they want. And with pickpocket, players try to steal money from another player.
Catching a cheater is a completely different story altogether, as players need to watch each other very carefully and scrutinize each player's actions. If a player suspects another player of cheating, they need to call out cheat and the game is paused. The accuser needs to explain how the other person cheated. If a person is falsely accused of cheating, then the accuser needs to pay that player 100 Monopoly dollars. Players need to decide very quickly whether they suspect a player has cheated or not, because by the time the next player has rolled the dice, that player has potentially gotten away with it.
After a cheat goal has been successfully completed, a new cheat goal is drawn from the deck and replaces it.
If what I've just described to you does not sound like fun, well, in the rulebook, there is the ultimate cheaters mode, where players can cheat however they like, as long as they don't get caught.
The game ends when all the properties have been purchased and each player makes it back to the ghost base where they collect 200 Monopoly dollars. Once the last players reach there, players then collect rent from the bank for each of their properties that they own. For properties in a set, they collect double the rent. For properties with a hotel, they collect rent for the hotel. After calculating this, the player with the most cash wins.
There are 5 things that you should know about Monopoly Cheaters Edition. Number 1, in terms of the cheating aspect of the game, the extent to which players try and cheat and try and get away with it comes down to how well players can influence, deceive, misdirect, and misguide other players to try and subtly achieve those cheat objectives that are laid out in front of everybody. The game comes with a pretty clear set of rules that kind of help to structure how the cheating occurs in the game so things don't go wildly out of control. So there's a beautiful framework that kind of holds it and ties it all together. That helps to kind of regulate the game experience. Number 2, in terms of game design, I really like how the board in this version of Monopoly feels a little bit more streamlined and movement around the board is further encouraged. So unlike in the original version of Monopoly where players are at the whim of the roll of 2 dice, and we know that when you roll 2 dice the chances of rolling a 7 are quite likely, certain properties were landed on more frequently than others. In this version there is an alternative way to move around the board. The stations now force players to move to the next section of the board, meaning that certain parts of the board are now seeing greater frequency in terms of players getting there. So I really like how the movement feels a little bit more balanced. Some of the chances of landing on all the properties feels a little bit more equitable, and those properties that are not often landed on, like Bond Street and Whitehall, are now marketed at a much cheaper price. In fact, Bond Street is for free, meaning that that coloured property set now feels more valuable, and there's a greater incentive to collect that coloured property set and trade with that coloured property set. Number 3 is all about the strategy and decision-making opportunities that this version of the game has to offer. The key concepts and ideas from the original classic version of Monopoly have been lifted and expanded in very different and unexpected ways in this version. The chance cards and community chess cards now have a clear purpose, and thus gives players more power and control and an opportunity to try and shift the game in their favour. There's a huge take that element in this game that players do need to consider, so players can kind of essentially target certain players that are in the lead and stopping them from gaining that extra cash if they like. There's a huge element of bluffing and deception that really changes the feeling that players have when they play this version of the game. The adrenaline levels are increased, there's a lot more tension, a lot more suspicion and accusations thrown around. Number 4 is all about the design of those infamous cheat cards. The cheat cards provide players with multiple cheating objectives, and the fact that you have 5 public objectives all active at the same time means it's very difficult to keep track of which player is doing what. And that is such a beautiful and ingenious design element, because it means that players are broken up in terms of what they're focusing on and how they're keeping an eye out on the other players around the table. It's kind of got that watchtower cops and robbers effect where players are scrutinizing every action that other players are doing in order to try and catch them out to stop them from gaining the lead. And that creates such a great atmosphere around the game that makes it brilliantly fun. Point number 5. Playing this game can really turn your friends against each other. Players are going to accuse each other of cheating and stealing and taking money and swapping properties. So you've got to really be in the right mindset to play this game, to thoroughly enjoy it and take the most out of it. If you take things a little bit too seriously and a bit more of a stickler for the rules, then this game might be one that you might need to try before you buy. So what are my final thoughts about this version of Monopoly? Well, first thing I'd like to say is I really like what they've done with the concept of taking the idea that people kind of make their own house rules, or people sometimes try to cheat in the original game, and really taking that concept and building upon it. And I think they've done so successfully, providing enough options but also structure for players to be able to play the game and still get the most from it. I think it definitely gets my thumbs up. Thank you again for joining me for another video at Board Game Sanctuary. If you really like my videos, please like, subscribe and share. I want to say a huge thank you to all the people who currently subscribe to my channel. I look forward to bringing you more content soon. This is Danny signing out. See you again next time. But I didn't cheat. I swear it. I was only playing by the rules.